I've been trying to buy some of these rooftop tent rods that hold the windows up on the canvas and the front and back opening of this tent. I got this tent on a pretty good deal, but the one thing I asked the person selling it about, I said, are the window rods in? I didn't ask if it was moldy or ripped or anything. I said, are the window rods in there? And they said yes, and it was raining and I didn't want to open the tent. And that was a mistake. The window rods were not in there. And I've been trying to track them down on the internet, and they're difficult to find. I ordered this one. All the other options are either out of stock or super expensive. So I actually saw a guy on YouTube who basically made his own, except he was using threaded rod from Home Depot, which I don't want threaded rod. But then I was like, hey, okay, if he can do it, why not just get a hold of some? I was gonna try and get brass, like this one. I went to my steel dealer where I got the steel for this rooftop tent rack, and they said they don't have brass, but they had stainless. I was like, oh, stainless is fine, because I just didn't want it to rust. Obviously, it's going to be out in the elements. And thanks to the YouTube, I went and got this little pipe bender. So this is actually for like metal hose and copper piping, stuff like that. But it's bending this stainless pretty well. I think it's a little stronger than this thing wants it to be, but it gets close enough, and I'll show you where I'm at with this, and that is I'm able to get a good hook on there, and it's definitely going to work. These are 3/16. Technically, I guess this is a touch bigger, but these stainless rods are going to be, by eyeing them up, you cannot tell a difference, right? So the grand total price for all of the metal was $10. So I spent, I think it was like $10 on this pipe bender, tube bender, I should say. It's not really pipe bender. Harbor Freight tubing bender. There you go, Pittsburgh. Of course, it's Pittsburgh. And I have no prior experience, so you can do it too. Yay! So the one thing you'll probably want to do is after you cut them is just grind off the edges so that they're smooth. You don't want to be poking yourself or your tent on accident. You just want to be smooth at any rate, even just for the sake of travel. So gotta do two bends. You see that first is a right angle bend there. And then the second one is gonna be a 180-degree bend basically, or thereabout, but my little crimper guy isn't quite strong enough to do that. So I'll show you how to just kind of bend it as much as I want at the end with clamping, any kind of channel locks or pliers or whatever. I'm just showing you the amount I'm doing because that kind of is how I started, and it was good enough, so I just kept going so that they're all the same. Basically going to do a 4-inch mark, and that's where the first bend's going to be. So I trust you know how to use a ruler. It doesn't have to be 4 inches, but it's probably not going to be less than 3 if I had to guess. Like the minimum you would probably want to go with a bend. Alright, so we've got our 4-inch mark right there. So we're going to stick this guy right there. So the mark is going to line up, our 4-inch little mark is going to line up with the back end of this piece right here, because this is the only straight line. Everything else is round. So we're going to put it right there. If you're like just over the line or just under, like it's not going to change anything. These get bent over time as you use them in the tent. So spending a bunch of time making it perfect is pointless, because in use they're going to get kind of
messed up,
altered over time. They're not going to be precise after one use. Alright, so then we're just going to bend it. This one I want it to go full 180, but there's not enough going on here. So I think maybe if I put a 5-inch mark, maybe it would bend around better, but it's gonna be good enough, and I'll show you why. It does take a little oomph. Maybe just set it on the ground or the table or something, but I've been doing it like that. Well, that was a pretty good one. All right, so I got my J hook going there. Maybe you just have to be strong. I don't know. Maybe that's the problem. Okay. So grab your pliers of your choice. I'm just gonna try and get a grip on these. Kind of start at the end. I'm just gonna bend it. This would be fine. It will work like this. It'll definitely hold a little more securely in wind if these are bent in more. I'll show you why. Or you could probably guess why. Okay, so now I got my 180. Now we're gonna do one more bend. And in that bend, I'm not measuring. I'm just using, you see that okay?
Yep.
Basically, I'm going to keep this on this far end. All right, so basically I'm putting it as far into the crimper as it will let me, with the bend, right, with the hook that's there already. So then I'm just going to bend it this way, just a 90, not 180, not trying to do 180. There we go. Look at that. So simple. All right, so I got all 8 of these done. I know a lot of the sets are 6, but there's definitely 4 windows that can be held up with these. $10 in metal and $10 in a little steel bender, wherever that went. You saw that. $20 at the door. Obviously, it took me some time. I think it probably took me about
2 hours.
2 hours to get all these done, Yeva says. So, obviously, you gotta count that in. You also have to be able to have, a steel supplier nearby or brass supplier. Brass would work just fine. I think these stainless steel ones are gonna be even better, to be honest. I think the brass ones are probably a touch lighter, maybe. But these are gonna be perfect, and they have the right amount of bend. They have to bend a little bit. So these are all the ones from our other tent, from our Schmitty built. So you see how they get bent and kind of maligned anyway? That's what I was saying, being hyper specific. As long as they're in the ballpark, they're fine. You can see these already are line up differently. They're all kind of in different shapes from getting bent. So I think this is a good replacement, and I hope that helps you a lot, because if I just done that from the start, I would have had this done in an afternoon. All right, just to show you that these do in fact work as good as OEM. I'm more than confident in that from mucho experience with these, but here we go. All right. You can see we got these in on a couple of the windows. It's the front door, obviously. These are perfect. I'm so happy with these. That's how you do it. I hope that helped. And if you want to buy these from me, message me. I'm thinking about selling these on Etsy or somewhere. All right, we'll see. Have a good one.